feel?
Yep.
Love it.
Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here.
Only about one thing tonight, getting the W's, so gotta be around the end to do that.
Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Let's go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the fastest car here, bud.
Yeah, boys! Way to rebound! Great job!
Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend.
What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.
Test 1, 2. Oh, there we go. All right. And welcome back to Racing in the Draft. My name is Mark. And once again, I thought that was working, but, if anybody has Windows and does updates, it screws with all of your audio. So sorry about that. Appreciate you tuning in for tonight's exciting Racing in the Draft breakdown of practice and qualifying headed into the Dollar Tree 301 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway as we wrap up the end of the summer, or what feels like the summer, because kids go back to school, or some kids are already back in school, and finally summer vacations are finished up, and time to get it back into the regular swing of things. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and let's get into the race at New Hampshire for the Dollar Tree 301. Can Denny Hamlin clinch the regular season and take first in that, even though it gives him 25 extra points going into the playoff? But he doesn't get a trophy. They don't give a trophy, I don't know, or a bonus or something. Seems kind of dumb, but whatever. Can Denny do something? Can Christopher Bell finally break through and not be the bridesmaid of this race and get a win at his probably statistically best track? Or will it be the hot Penske drivers, number one being Logano or Blaney or Cindric, or, man, how about Josh Berry with a heck of a run the last 3 or 4 weeks, finishing in the top 10 all races. So really good for him. Hopefully he can secure some type of contract for next year, whether it's Cup or O'Reilly. I think he would definitely be a value for whichever team. It sounds like if nothing really comes through, that I think Junior will find a spot for him over there. Maybe Hendrick will find a spot for him. I don't know, but I hope Barry can land a ride for next year in something. It would be a real shame not to have him in the sport. He's a talented driver. So, but either way, we are headed to New Hampshire. We've got weather in the forecast. Like, I just looked probably about a half hour ago, and I think the lowest chance is like 43% at like 10 in the morning, and the highest chance is like 65% at like 4 in the afternoon. So we could literally have off and on rain all day tomorrow. And that's why they have moved the race to 2:00 Eastern time instead of the 3, whatever it is, the 3:12 or something like that. So I guess actually green flag would be like 2:12 or something along those lines. But I mean, the extra hour will give them an opportunity, if it is dry at that point, or if wet weather tires are available, to do it. My question is, if they're calling for on and off showers all day, how many sets of wet weather tires do they have? Do they have a full allotment, which would be like 7 or 8, 9 sets of tires for all of the teams? Um, that seems like an extreme amount to haul between all of the racetracks that are able to have wet weather tires. But I mean, Goodyear's usually pretty good at making sure they have stuff. And I mean, once they start going, they put some heat in the track pretty quick, and it does create a dry line. 2 years ago, we saw a very similar situation at New Hampshire going into that race where Christopher Bell ended up getting the win, but it was high and dry for the first 202, 203 laps, something like that. Then the rain came, and they had to finish the last 100 laps or so on the wet weather tires, and it became quite chaotic. Go back and watch the replay of it. Christopher Bell ended up getting the win, but Tyler Reddick ended up leading a bunch of the laps between lap 200 and 250, something like that. Um, but it was very treacherous, very slip slidey around. You the dry line had formed. Do you come in and get the dry tires? Do you stay on the uh, wet weather tire? There's all sorts of different strategies that end up happening. So be aware when you're setting your lineups. If we do get weather, this could turn into a real cluster very quickly. Typically, the guys that run this track pretty well will end up being able to hold positions, but it definitely kind of will start to throw the back of the field into a kind of a quandary. So just definitely be aware that that is a possibility when you're building your lineups. I'm going to build my lineups with still the pretty much the same premonition of it's going to stay high and dry for most of this race, or it's not going to end up being that big of a deal. And that's just kind of how I'm going to lean into it. But I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that that is a possibility. Whereas we did not get any weather last weekend for the Cookout 400, unlike we did for the truck race, which ended up falling on to Saturday. And I tell you what, I like NASCAR a lot. I do not like being at a racetrack for 12 or 13 hours. That is that is a long time to be at a racetrack. I really felt bad for some of the crew guys that had to be there that entire time. Now, they were busy doing stuff and they had, nice, hopefully comfortable places to go hang out at or hang out in. Um, but yeah, it was the biggest problem is I could leave, but with it being pretty much a sellout at Richmond, parking became a premium. So there was no way that I could end up leaving the track. I had literally, it's like 8 rows, 9 rows from the entrance to the track because I'd gotten there early enough for the truck race. So there was no way I was going to be able to leave and come back and get my same parking spot. And then afterwards, what normally takes me, I don't know. So a typical trip to Richmond for me to the track is about 15 minutes without a race. With a race, getting to and from typically takes me about 30 minutes. A sellout now takes me an hour and a half to 2 hours to get home from the track. Andrew says, kind of a tough race to handicap. Who takes two? Who takes two for track position at the end? Rain will make it even harder. Yep. And that's absolutely the case because in 2024, like I was just saying, it's a dry line began to form. And you come in and potentially get the non-wet tires and just go with the slicks. It's going to be kind of difficult. That's why I said I think you just build it with thinking that there's just not going to be rain, and the guys that are fast here are going to be the guys that are fast here. And if they happen to get taken out, they happen to get taken out. More than likely, at least the way I build my lineups, I typically am pretty close to the percentage line on drivers. It's how I end up building them out. I hopefully differentiates, but yeah, the betting line is going to be the tough one. The DraftKings line, it's we're looking at 1 to 2 drivers. I mean, this build is similar to what we just built at Richmond, what we just built at Iowa, what we just built at um, at North Wilkesboro. So this is this is the fourth time that we've done this. The build's going to be very similar. It's going to be 1 or 2 dominators. It's going to be somebody who also starts and stays up towards the front, and then it's 3 drivers, 4 drivers that are going to make place differential. And that's just the way short tracks with high lap counts end up working. But either way, Joey Logano again with a win, got the North Wilkesboro win, and then turns around and gets the Richmond win. He's always very, very good here in New Hampshire. The Fords, the Penske's are always very good at New Hampshire, so definitely keep that in mind, along with the Joe Gibbs Toyotas. The Hendrick guys, who knows what's going on with Hendrick and Chevy at this point? It's really hard. That's probably as difficult to handicap as the weather may be. Is will Chevy and Hendrick actually be able to compete or not compete? Because I mean, last week they ended up with all 4 cars in the top 10, and I definitely did not see that coming. And for the most part, the entire race they weren't there until the very end. So it's the Hendrick and the Chevys, I think, have been the Achilles heel so far in the second half of this season so far for me. Is the days that they end up showing a little bit of speed, they do lousy. The days that they don't show a whole lot of speed, they end up getting some track position and end up having decent finishes. So, but either way, I mean, Kyle Larson, how about Kyle Larson? Starting in 30th and ended up finishing in 6th. Good for him, and was able to jump on the plane and get out to the Knoxville Nationals for the sprint car race and taking the win there also. So the true double finally happened for Kyle Larson, and he ended up at least getting a win in one of the 2 races. But I mean, heck, a 30th to 6 is pretty much a win in my opinion. And I'm not sure if the TV did it justice for the tire fall off and how big of a difference it was with fresh tires to old tires. But at one point, Kyle Larson got tires and ended up being almost 2 laps down and unlaps himself. No, almost no, he went 2 laps down. He got one of the laps back, and almost made it back to unlap himself to put himself on the lead lap, ending of stage 2, but he ended up getting into the free dog spot and getting his lap back anyways. But watching him maneuver and drive through the field and almost make a full lap up on the leader was insanely wild and fun to watch live in person. And the problem is with TV, you can't sit there and focus on one driver because they're focusing on lots of different things. But and it wasn't just Kyle; it was anybody who did that. It was a 3-second difference between somebody with 25 lap old tires compared to somebody with new tires. The tire fall off was insane. Now, the problem is with everybody being on the same equal tire, it was a little difficult to pass. The aero block was still there, and I don't know how they end up fixing that other than ripping the underside of the body of the undercarriage to the car, which that's where a lot of the downforce is made, and then bumping the horsepower to 850, 900 horsepower. I don't know of another way that you're able to fix the problem that they've got with this next gen car in the aero blocking. But it's a real thing, and it's just it doesn't matter if it's a half-mile track at Martinsville, a 3/4 mile track at Richmond, or a 1.5 mile track or 2 mile track at Michigan or Kansas. It just the aero block is there, and if you can take the air and dirty the air for the guy behind you, they can't they can't make the pass. They don't have the downforce. So, but either way, our optimal lineup: Joe Logano, Kyle Larson, Chase Briscoe. What a run for Chase Briscoe! I think going into last week, I think we talked about it was he'd never had a top 10 at Richmond and ended up leading 171 of the 400 laps, almost half of the race, and started and finished in second. What a run by him. Austin Cindric from 23rd to 3rd, Alex Bowman with a top 10, and SVG really solidifying himself potentially as a chase driver. If he can just get away this week at New Hampshire with about the same amount of lead, 50 points or more, I think he's in a fairly good spot going into Daytona, even with the potential of the big one happening. So SVG really needs to have a good run this weekend in New Hampshire and can probably almost lock himself into a playoff berth without having the win in your end scenario. Tyler Reddick, who also really is not good, and he wasn't really that good at Richmond. It just things fell appropriately for him, and pit strategies really helped him out. And same thing with Kyle Larson. But Tyler Reddick just missing the optimal lineup with a 58.8. You know, depending on how you build your lineups, there was no way anybody's going to be able to touch the Chase Briscoe, Kyle Larson, Joey Logano. I mean, 80 points, 87, and 108. And I said it was going to take at least 70 points or more for the $9,000 and up guys, and sure enough, that's where it fell in. Tyler Reddick was close to Eddie Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Bell, Barry from a 3rd to an 8th, another top 10 finish, good for him. Noah Gragson with an 18th place finish, and Ross Chastain in 12th. The optimal lineup challenge still up at the top: Denny Hamlin, Ty Gibbs, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Blaney, and SVG now in the mix for potentially having the most optimal lineups for the year. But we head to New Hampshire for this weekend's race, the Magic Mile, as they call it. It is right at a mile? I think it's 1.058. So pretty close. That's why it's 301. They actually end up racing 318.5 miles, but 301 laps. 3 stages. The first stage is 70 laps. The second stage is 115, and the final stage is 160. Fuel strategy or tire strategy. I think you can make it in the first stage without having to pit for fuel, but it's really, really close. Tire wear will be an issue, but nowhere near as drastic as it was last week. If you get a caution, you definitely, after like lap 35 or 40, everybody's going to come in and probably get 4 tires. You could probably get away with only taking 2 right sides to potentially improve your track position. But it's the corner speeds here and the throttle off of the corner is what really is the sticking point, and it makes it very difficult with old tires to really make that happen. So if you do a right side only or no tires, you're probably going to get eaten up by the guys that do get tires. So, you know, anything under 20 laps, not a big deal. Anything over 30, 35, you start to enter that, I don't know, zone, and then 50 or plus, you're going to come in and get 4 tires. Yeah, so 210 total points on the board out here. You know, 301 laps. I mean, most of your mile and a half cookie cutter style tracks, your Kansas, Las Vegas, and those run about 287. So very similar type of build to that. Also being a short track, it's kind of a hybrid of the two of them. So really, it's going to be one dominator, one potential dominator that starts up front, stays up front, and then the other 4 is place differential. But you don't have to go really, really deep on the place differential. 1.5 drivers come from 30th or worse for the top 15, and it was like 4.6 come from starting in the 20s, and then it was like 3.8 or 4 for the 11 through 20, and then the remaining like 4.5, 5 come from starting in the top 10. So it kind of breaks down pretty evenly. Top 10, 11 through 20, and then 20 through 30. And if you have somebody that's starting in the back that, is decent here, that can make up track position, that would be it. Other tracks to compare to is Phoenix Raceway, where they race 312 laps. Very similar, 1 mile in length. Banking is 8 to 11 degrees, very similar to what we see at New Hampshire. Worldwide Technology, all right, or what used to be called Gateway, is 1.25 miles. The banking's very similar. It's 11 degrees and it's 240 laps. And then, of course, what we just raced at with Richmond at 400 laps at a 0.75. Now, the banking's a little bit more extreme in Richmond, but still not super extreme. All right. Our optimal lineups from the last 2 years at Loudon. We had 2 different races. 2025, bright sunny skies, no issues on weather, very comfortable day, as they call it, like a Chamber of Commerce type of day, where Ryan Blaney and Joe Logano just absolutely stole the show. Joe Logano leading 147, Ryan Blaney leading 116, and rough math, that's at that point, it's almost the entire race. 250, 60, almost 260 of the 301 laps. So yeah, it doesn't leave a whole lot of room. They started first and second and finished first and fourth, and both made the optimal lineup. So are we going to see something like that this week? I don't think so. I think the weather's going to do weird things. The tires are a little bit different. I still think Penske is going to be extremely good, so don't take that away from the potential of them doing well, but we don't have a Penske front row for this race. Yeah, we've got a real surprise at the pole for this week. Like, after practice, I was shocked that he was able to pull off what he did in qualifying, him being Tyler Reddick. 2024, when we had the rain race, Christopher Bell led 149 laps. Reddick led 53. Those 53 were during once we got to the wet weather tire, and Tyler Reddick ended up having a good pit stop and getting himself out front and was able to get away from the field. But then very quickly, within 50 laps, Christopher Bell caught up to him and then retook the lead. But Kyle Larson, starting in 19th, finished in 4th. But I mean, we're looking at, that one driver who dominates, and then the rest of it's not super far back. With 2 guys in the teens or close to teens, 2 guys in the 20s, and 1 that started 31st, being Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece is pretty good. He is from that area of the country in New Hampshire, or right outside of New Hampshire. And then for this race, we did have starting first, second, and third. Penske was just on a blistering pace at that point. Not too dissimilar to what we're seeing out of Penske right now, but we don't have them starting first, second, and third. So at least we might have a little bit of place differential for guys like Joey Logano, who are starting a little bit towards the back. Blaney's kind of starting at least top 10, I think. We'll get to the driver breakdown here in just 1 second. But it was 3 drivers, all place different, not place differential, track position, started up front, stayed up front, and then the rest of the group, 3 drivers, were place different. That's the 2025 Richmond race. I don't care about that. I don't know why my AI put that one in there. We're supposed to put last week's race in, which we already had. Phoenix from earlier this spring. Very similar type of build. It's, a driver starts up front, a driver that should start up front, stay up front, lead a bunch of laps, and then the rest is place differential. So that's kind of where we're at this point. It's find 2 drivers that you think are going to be dominant, that are starting up front, and they're going to stay there. The other 4 are your place differentials. and you don't have to dig all the way to the very back, unless there's a driver back there that you think could potentially come up, like Chase Elliott. But Chase Elliott was not good in practice, so he's decent at this track. But how much do you trust Hendrick right now? How much do you trust Chase? Right now, I don't really trust it a whole lot. So, all right, our driver breakdown. Ryan Blaney, 11,200. If you are new to the channel, we'll kind of go over Ryan Blaney's page more in depth here and go through everything a little bit more detailed. His price on DraftKings is 11,200. He is the highest priced driver. The racing and the draft power rank. This comes from a combination of about 10 or 15 different things that all kind of get thrown into a spreadsheet, and then the algorithm kind of picks all that apart, and that goes into the last 5 races, either at the particular track, like New Hampshire. We only race there once a year, so it's the last 3 at New Hampshire, last week's Richmond, and the Phoenix race from earlier this year. Those are the most similar tracks, so I built those all in. That gets put in there. The trend line, which is the last 5 oval style races, non-super speedway, non-road course, gets figured into that. It's the 10 most similar tracks, style tracks. So that's anything from Martinsville to Bristol to to Darlington, Gateway, Nashville, all of them that are right there in that mile length, really not cookie cutter, 1.5 mile style track, falls into that type of track. Then practice and qualifying get thrown into there. All of that kind of gets blended up, mixed up, and out spits a number from the AI/algorithm, and Ryan Blaney comes in at 4th for that. And that 4th is much more based on DraftKings, where they potentially are going to finish in DraftKings would be the 4th highest points total. Is that true that it needs to happen that way? It sometimes falls pretty close. More times than not, it's closer than further away. But it's a really good guide that I've kind of built to kind of be like, okay, does this driver run this type of race with practice, with qualifying? What is he really up against? And Ryan Blaney is 4th on the Racing in the Draft power rank. All right, so for qualifying, Ryan Blaney qualified 8th. So really good spot for run up front, stay up front, maybe lead a bunch of laps. Doesn't necessarily have to. Could be a dominator. Doesn't have to be. But he definitely would be in my grouping of start up front and stay up front. His practice speeds, he was 16th in single laps. Oh yeah, so the practice was everybody practiced all together, 50 minutes, 2 sets of tires, do what you will with it. And Brian Blaney ended up running 64 laps, which is great. Lots of lap times for us to compare to. We get to see tire fall off. We get to see an adjustment and then run it again with a new set of tires, and then they qualify. So I really, really like the new practice setup. They don't necessarily have to drive it the entire 50 minutes, but if you've got 2 sets of tires, go see what your long run speed is and then go do a qualifying lap, or vice versa, do a qualifying lap and then do your long run speed and make it some adjustments. So it should end up making for better racing on Sundays or the day after practice. So Ryan Blaney was 16th fastest in single lap. On the 10 lap average, Ryan Blaney was 3rd. He ends up being the fastest car on long run speed from lap 20, 25, 30, and so on. He was the fastest driver on a long run. And we'll look at that in just a second with graphic. The trend line is the last 5 races, non-super speedway, non-road course, and it's through Richmond 2026. A lot of that is going to be Iowa. It's going to be North Wilkesboro. It's going to be Chicagoland, or the tracks that this comes from. And Ryan Blaney has 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, 4 top 20s, a 12th place average finish, and a 20.8 average fast laps. I don't know why I put average fast laps. I'll have to figure that why it did that. But okay, either way, it's there. As long as it's comparison to everyone, it's all good. The best finish in the last 5 races at New Hampshire is first. The last race at New Hampshire was first. So good stat there. The full track history at New Hampshire, 12 total starts for Ryan Blaney. He's got 1 win, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s, 9 top 20s, with an average finish of 14th. So that gives us a really good snapshot of Ryan Blaney. Now we'll look at his lap times compared to the average of the field and William Byron. William Byron's in blue. Blaney should be red, not in gold. I don't know if I did that. Should be in, yeah, Ryan Blaney's in red. The white line is the average of all of the drivers. So as we can see on the first run, it's definitely they're kind of hunting for speed, both he and Byron, trying to find different grooves. They're also going in and out of traffic. Maybe their setups are not quite right. The real run that I'm really looking at is this second run here. And Ryan Blaney fires off much faster and stays much faster than William Byron throughout this run. And compared to the average of the field, so 36 drivers, 18 being the middle of the road, that's kind of where you would think the 18th place driver would fall, give or take. But this gives us a really good idea how William Byron and Ryan Blaney both panned out over that long run. And they all meet in the middle once all the tires even out. So that's pretty normal to see here. But from lap 1, which would be lap 32-ish, through 52, Blaney is much better than William Byron. All right, so that is that. Now, for racinginthedraft.com, you can go over there, and if you go to the DK calculator right here, you start with your homepage, you go over to the DK calculator, you can now make your own speculation on what a driver will and won't do. So Ryan Blaney. So on this sheet, we have got the same track last 5 races or something similar. So we've got the 3 New Hampshire races, Richmond and Phoenix are all based on this. For Ryan Blaney is 2 wins, 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s, a 50.2 Draftkings average, a 12.4 average running position. His best finish is first. His worst finish is 25th. Average fast laps of 34 or 36.4. Average laps led of 46. And of course, that was for 5 races. So if somebody didn't have the full 5 races, notify it there. And then for the trend is the last 5 races that they've been to, non-super speedway, non-road course. It's no wins, 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, 4 top 20s, a 12th place average finish, best finish of 3rd, worst of 26, 20 fast laps, 45.2 laps led, 5 races. So starting position of 8th. It's going to say the average finish is 12th because 12 here and 12.4 average running position here. So the computer figures out, okay, he's probably slated for a 12th place finish. And those are just based on averages. Now, if you think Ryan Blaney is going to be better or worse, you change the number here however you like. I think Ryan Blaney ends up with at least probably a top 3 finish, if not top 5 finish. So we'll slate him in for a 3rd place finish. Now, the question is, does he go out and lead that many laps? I'm starting in 8th. It's going to be, yes, absolutely. The potential is there for him to lead 45 to 50 laps. That's a 6th of the race. Now, if he doesn't, then we've got to look dumb here. So I'm going to back it down just a little bit. I'm going to take it to 20. and I'm going to let him have 10 fast laps. I'm just being a little bit on the conservative side when it comes to these numbers. And as long as I'm conservative with everyone when I'm building these lineups, then it'll still tell me who has the best opportunity for the best pricing. So at this point, then what you do is you hit lock score. You can click on rankings, and it'll show just Ryan Blaney because that's the only one we've ranked to this point. And then at the end of it all, we can look at our optimizers, and it will put the projection in. Like Ryan Blaney right now, 55.5, which is what we have currently here, 55.5. So the optimal line, points-wise, that we're looking for drivers of $9,500 or more is at least 65 points. For Ryan Blaney currently, because with the conservative setup of only 20 laps led, 10 fast laps with a third place finish, only gets him to 55.5, so we're about 10 points short from the optimal. Now, not a big deal. I still think he easily could be in the optimal. I mean, all it takes is move this to first, give him a few more laps led, and he gets there. So then what you do is you just click on the next driver and you begin to make these adjustments. All of those adjustments end up falling over to the optimizer. That way you can kind of see where they end up falling and who you want to put in the optimizer and who you may want to fade off the optimizer. All right, so next in line is Denny Hamlin. Oh yeah, on the website, you do not want to, if you're using this and building all this out, you don't want to get all the way through it and then close it out or click on something else because it does not save it. Once you finish, it'll give you the option to run it to a CSV file, and then what it'll give you is all of your totals, but it won't have everything else, and then the optimizer won't kind of be screwed up. So if you need to do something, just open a new tab and go do that, but try to leave the tab open while you're inputting all of the DK calculator up. All right, back to drivers. All right, so Denny Hamlin. So this is when we're going to start to kind of cruise through these, or we're going to be here for a really, really long time. We're already here for a really long time anyways, so I'll try to make this as short and sweet to the point. Denny Hamlin, $11,000. The power ranking of 5th. He qualified in the 4th position. His practice speeds were 18th in single lap, 12th in 10 lap consecutive average. The race trend current does not have a win, but 5 out of 5 in the top 5. 3.8 average finish with 25 average fast laps. I don't know why I did that. I'm going to stop talking about that. I promise I just continue to read. The best finish over the last 5 races at New Hampshire or like tracks is 4th. The last race finish last year was 12th for Denny Hamlin. The full race history here at New Hampshire, 31 starts with 3 wins, 10 top 5s, 18 top 10s with a 9.4 average finish. Qualified in 4th. Look at his practice speeds. This one will still continue to have William Byron in the blue, Ryan Blaney in the red, and Denny Hamlin in the yellowish goldish color. And this kind of gives you an indication on what Denny Hamlin's practice speeds look like at the beginning for the first run. They came in and made some adjustments, got fresh tires, and went back out. And they're very close to the same speeds that Blaney and Byron ran also, especially after about lap 20, where it kind of equalized out on the tire usage. Was not as good on the early run. And that's kind of typical for Denny Hamlin. Typically, Denny does not fire off super fast, but he is very consistent about holding and maintaining track position. So starting in the top 5, I really do like Denny Hamlin for kind of staying there the rest of the race. Will he go out and lead a bunch of laps? He has not shown that to be a tendency at New Hampshire. Is it possible? Absolutely. Starting in the top 5. So let's put him on the calculator and kind of see where this ends up falling. Now, the averages here are putting him at a 10th place average finish. But, I think finish where you start. Start in fourth, finish in fourth. Probably have about 10 fast laps. Maybe he does lead 20. I think it's a good possibility. I don't like. I think Ryan Blaney has a better shot of leading potentially more than 20 laps, and I think Denny Hamlin, that may be a little bit of a far stretch. So kind of in between the two of them, I'm going to leave. Well, I may back this down. Let's go to 15 and 8. But that gives us a 47.4. We hit the lock score. We can now come over to the rankings. Ryan Blaney, 55.5. Denny Hamlin at a 47.4. And now, because we've got two drivers in here, we could download these two drivers to a CSV file, but no reason to start doing that as of yet. All right, next in line here will be Christopher Bell. Probably, in my opinion, probably the favorite to win this race, at least early on. And we'll look at his speeds and all that information. His power ranking is second. He qualified in the 6th position. His practice speeds were 10th in single lap. He was fastest in 10 lap, but at the 20, 25, 30, that ended up falling off just slightly. And Ryan Blaney ended up being the fastest on the long run. So short run speed, Christopher Bell's pretty darn quick. And over the last 5 races on the current trend line, so the last 5 races of this year, 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s, 5 top 20s, a 6.4 average finish. His best finish here at New Hampshire over the last 5 races is first. Last year's race, he finished in 6th. The full race history here in New Hampshire for Christopher Bell is 6 starts, 2 wins, 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s. So over that, right at half the time, he is finishing at least in the top 5. Qualified in 6th. His average finish is 8th. Practice speeds. He is the gold that we're looking at, or yellow. He is not as fast as Ryan Blaney or William Byron or even Denny Hamlin, because we just had him, anywhere in practice, really. That may be a little bit concerning. Not overly concerning, but with his starting spot, a slight concern. So, Christopher Bell. We have an average finish of, let's say, this has 9th as the average running position for the last 5 races, 6.4. This has a 9th. I think we'll go with a 5th place finish. He could easily win. This has 71 laps led. I think that is very possible. I think it's also potentially a little bit of a stretch. I also don't think the pole sitter, leads a ton of laps, because his practice speeds were awful. So we're gonna go with, I think we'll go kind of with the Ryan Blaney thought process. 20 laps led, 10 fast laps. I said it's gonna be a little on the conservative side. That's okay. Like I said, as long as we're consistent across the board, being a little consistent on or conservative on what we think may happen, might be better than not. So, 5th place finish, 10 fast laps, 20 laps led, 49.5. We locked that score in. We can now look at the rankings. Ryan Blaney's still there, but Christopher Bell now splits he and Denny Hamlin. Then, next in line will be Joey Logano. Joey's on a hot streak. It is an even year, and if anybody's paid attention to social media or the trends, even years are really good for Joey Logano to get super hot at this point and carry it through playoffs and winning championships. He's won 3 of them. All 3 of them have been even years. 2018, 2022, 24 were the championship years that he's won. He missed the 2020. Okay, so we'll call that one weird COVID curse. I don't know. That's when Chase Elliott ended up taking home the championship. But either way, 2018, 2022, 24, Joey Logano, even years, runs even numbers. I don't know. Everybody likes to talk about the even year thing. And I mean, sure enough, he's coming to life right now. This is when it happens. So, but his qualifying speed was not good at all. He is ranked first in my power ranking, mostly because of his 21st qualifying spot. His practice speeds were 4th in single lap, 10th in 10 lap consecutive average. The race trend, the last 5 races, like we've talked about, 2 wins in the last 5 races, 3 top 5s, all 5 races finishing in the top 20, 6.2 average finishing position for those last 5 races. The best finish here at New Hampshire is a first. The last race at New Hampshire last year, he finished 4th. In his full race history, 26 total starts, 2 wins, 10 top 5s, 14 out of 26 top 10, 18 out of 26 top 20, an average finish of 13.7. Let's look at his practice speeds. He is in the gold. Ryan Blaney is in red, and William Byron is blue. The white is the average. He is not as good as William Byron or Ryan Blaney anywhere really in the run, other than one fire off speed right at the very beginning. And after that, it's downhill. How far does that put him up? I think it's probably a good shot at a top 10. Starting in 21st, it's a little bit tougher to make it through the field. You have a little bit more to worry about. You've got other people that you got to worry about. Your pit stall is not quite as good. You get into trouble on a pit stop. It's just much harder when you're in the middle of what I call the muck, which is, anything from about 15th to 30th is the muck. And Joe Logano's dab smack in the middle of it. And all it takes is one guy to either roll through the corner too fast, hit your rear bumper, so you know you're in the wall. Next thing you know, your race is pretty much donezo. But statistically, Joe Logano has a really good chance of having a great place differential day. And because of that, he's going to get the lion's share of ownership. My speculation is he will be on the low side 35% owned, on the high side 50% owned. Could potentially even be more. He is the first driver we've come to so far that has a decent shot at potentially a win, potentially leading laps, and a great amount of place differential. How far up does he go? I'm going to say a 7th place spot is going to be pretty good. Better than the average actually had it at. Now, starting in 21st, do I think he leads a bunch of laps? No, I do not. It's going to be much more difficult to get up there and lead laps, especially early. Maybe he does it in stage 2. Maybe he does it in stage 3. A little unsure. I'm going to give him, 5 laps led. Now, the fast laps, I think, end up probably evening out at that point. So we'll give him 5 fast laps. 54.6. If you think it's going to be any better, you can move him to 6th or 5th, 7th. I'm going to leave it as a 7th place finish. I'm going to lock the score. We can look at the rankings. Joe Logano, 54.6, right there with Ryan Blaney for the top spot. So, really good opportunity with Joey Logano. He's not my favorite. I think it's the first time, actually, last weekend at Richmond may have been the first time I had ever had to endure a Joey Logano win live in person. I've gone to a lot of races at this point. So a little sad there, but that's okay. Had to happen eventually. Well, I guess it didn't, but it did. Chase Briscoe with the surprising bridesmaid finish last week after leading the most laps. Man, if he could have just gotten around Joey, so much better. I like Chase Briscoe a lot better than I like Joey Logano. I'm really pulling for my guy, Kyle Larson, to have just a good, solid top 10 day tomorrow. All I want. Solid top 10 day. But we'll get to my boy Kyle Larson here in a minute. Chase Briscoe, power ranking of 2nd, mostly because of place differential. Qualified in 17th. Practice speeds were kind of like Joe Logano. They weren't great. 23rd in single lap, 11th in 10 lap. Now, the trend line for the last 5 races, non-super speedway, non road course, Chase Briscoe's got 1 win, 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s, 3.2 average finish. His average finish is better than Denny Hamlin's at this point. And Denny Hamlin has rolled off a bunch of top 5s. His best finish for the last 5 races, either at New Hampshire, Richmond, or Phoenix, is second. His last race here at New Hampshire was 10th. He has 5 total starts here, no wins, 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, 5 top 20s, and a 14.7 average finish. Look at his practice speeds. And the first run was okay. Slower than Blaney, slightly better than Byron. Not quite as hit or miss with the average. Second run wasn't quite as long. He's as fast as Blaney, but you got to remember, he got new tires here. If you look at the new tires here, they're similar, but Briscoe is slower. Now, remember, he qualified in 17th. He's qualified right at the average. And his practice speeds, for the most part, other than these 2 laps here, he's better than the average. So he should at least be able to maintain that average or improve on it. It's the kind of the thought process. And if we go to the calculator for Chase Briscoe, 17th, I'm going to put him for just a nice 8th place finish. I don't think he goes and leads a bunch of laps like he did last week, starting too far up. I'll give him 3, and I'll give him, the 5 fast laps on getting towards the front. Gives you a 48.9. You lock him in. You can look at the rankings, and it's Blaney, Logano, Bell, Briscoe, Hamlin. All right, next in line here, Young Money, Kyle Larson. Get the Knoxville National win last week. Good for him. And a good 6th place finish after, I don't know, just a miserable day all the way around at Richmond. Ending up getting that 6th place finish was definitely almost like a win in my book. But Kyle Larson, 9,500. His power ranking is 7th. He qualified in the 9th position. His practice speeds were 13th on single run, 4th in 10 lap. He was top 3 in speed through lap 20, 25, 30. So his long run speed is actually very, very good. The trend line is not his friend. No top 5s, 1 top 10, which was last week at Richmond, 2 top 20s, a 25.4 average finish. That is awful. Awful, awful. Got to turn that around. Got to clean this up, or really could be in trouble for next week at Daytona, because Kyle is very hit or miss on super speedways. His best finish over the last 5 races, which is the last 3 New Hampshires, Richmond, and 1 Phoenix, is a 3rd. The most recent race here at New Hampshire last year, he finished in 7th. 14 total starts here for Kyle Larson at New Hampshire, and 6 out of 14 times top 5, 9 top 10s, 13 top 20s. So pretty consistent at getting top 20s. The 9.4 average finish. Let's look at his practice speeds. Red is Blaney. Blue is Byron. Yellow is Kyle Larson. He is slower than Blaney and Byron. And it's not really until lap 29 he pits and gets adjustments. And 10 laps later, he's falling into the average zone, if not worse than average. So either got shoved out of the way, moved out of the way, or had a bad corner. Really hard to say sometimes without being in everybody's car and analyzing every lap what that little spike is there. But I'm not overly concerned with it. Starting in the 7th position or 9th position qualifying, I'm going to just say it's going to be finish where you start and call it a day. Get some stage points when you can. Get a solid finish. They stopped the hemorrhaging last week. they need to continue to keep that bandage on there and not bleed out. And just get to Daytona and lock yourself into the playoffs and into the chase. It's all I'm looking for. I think that's all they're looking for. They know New Hampshire's not their greatest track. They know Daytona has always been hit or miss with them. Just get into the playoffs, get to the mile and a half, get to your bread and butter, and go and get some wins. He's got 2 laps led here. I'll keep it at 2 just in case he gets to lead some laps through a green flag cycle. Fast laps. I mean, Kyle is known for running some fast laps, especially, I mean, like last week, he had a ton of fast laps because he was on a different tire strategy than everyone else. And when he had the fresh tires, he was way faster than anybody else on the track. So for like 20, 25 laps, he was getting fast lap, which that's 0.45 points in the DraftKings world. So great if you had him last week because he was just tearing it up. I mean, in 25, that's 12 points. That is a make or break on Kyle Larson being in the optimal or not being in the optimal was that play. So I'm going to lock him in with 8 fast laps, 2 laps led, 39.1. Still ends up being the worst on the ranking so far. Mostly because it's a finish where you start, and he's going to get 39.1. So don't really love the Kyle Larson play for tomorrow. I'll have some in case he fires off and is able to get to the lead or ends up getting, a top 3 finish. Because if you look at it, if he goes to a top 3, let's say he is able to lead, 10 laps, keep the 8 fast laps, it's a 53.1. Well, if we lock that in now, that takes him to 3rd on the board. I'm going to be a little conservative and say it's a 9th to a 9th, and it's two laps led and 8 fast laps at a 39.1. A little on the low side. I understand that from where I think it's truly potential, but I'd rather be conservative than not. All right, next in line here, in my opinion, Mr. Consistency, Ty Gibbs. Man, has he been just consistent all year long? Just does not make any huge drastic mistakes. Consistently finishing well. And I don't expect anything different from Ty Gibbs this weekend. Power ranking of 9th, he qualified in 7th. He was 2nd fastest in practice on 1 lap speed, 15th and 10 lap. For the last 5 races that we're comparing to, he's got the 1 win, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 5 top 20s, and 8th place average finish. His best finish over the last 5 races at New Hampshire, or also including the one Richmond, one Phoenix, is 4th. The last race here last year at New Hampshire was 35th. That's ugly. And for 3 total starts here in New Hampshire, no top 10s, 1 top 20, a 16th place average finish. So not great there either. His practice speeds, he is in the gold yellow, and he comes off and it's not very good. And then it kind of settles in. He's running better than average. But looks like he runs the whole thing out. Looks like he does not ever change tires. Or if he did it right here. He had an issue and then came back and then ran. It's really hard to say, but you don't see the dramatic drop off like you do for everyone else. So this would be a really good indication. 29.5 all the way to, how many laps was that? Lap 8 to lap 56. That's almost a 50 lap run. And the fall off is 30.7 from a 29.5. So 1.2 second fall off. That's probably what we would expect for that type of a runoff. Now, is that going to get you a huge amount of place differential on the track if you happen to short pit, anything like that? I mean, you can probably gain a couple tenths, maybe a half a second on somebody if you pit 2 laps earlier than somebody who doesn't. So that's a potential strategy move with inside the race. It's not a huge game changer like it was last week at Richmond. So let's put Ty Gibbs on the calculator here and see what we've got. Ty Gibbs, 7th. This has an average finish of 19th. It's that 35th place finish last year. Move him down to just a solid 10th place finish. I'll keep the laps led at 2, fast laps at 6, and a 34.2. So now that puts Ty Gibbs as the worst because we've got 3 spots of negative place differential and not a whole lot of laps led or fast laps. So not unexpected, but I also don't love the practice graph. And it's really hard to tell. I don't think he came in and made an adjustment to his car. But once again, without having, I mean, I watched practice, but I didn't watch to see if Ty Gibbs came in and made an adjustment or did make an adjustment, or he went out late, or those types of things. And to follow 36 drivers and then do a report on it be tough. So, I mean, they've got, what, 4, 5 pit road reporters, and each one of those guys have 2 or 3 people who are watching all the different things and feeding them information in their ears. All right. William Byron, next in line here, $9,000, and he is one of the drivers that we are following all through practice graph. Power ranking of 8th, qualified in 3rd. Practice speeds was 6th in single lap, 2nd in 10 lap consecutive average. The trend line is decent for Willie B. 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s, 11th place average finish over the last 5 races. His best finish over the 5 races, 3 being Hampshire, 1 being Richmond, 1 being Phoenix, is 3rd. He finished 3rd in this race last year, so that's where the 3rd comes from. 7 total starts here at New Hampshire with 1 top 5, 1 top 10, which that 3rd from last year, and 4 top 20s with a 16.6 average finish. So Willie B's not great here. He's not awful here. And his practice speeds we've been focusing on him with everyone else. So not a big surprise here. But if we really kind of drill down and compare him to Ryan Blaney, he's slower than Ryan Blaney for that first 20 laps and then kind of equals itself out. He qualified in 3rd. Is he able to maintain and hold position or potentially get the lead? Maybe. I mean, he definitely had speed early in a run and then kind of faded off. So, Willie B starting in 3rd. I mean, do we give him a 3rd, give him a 4th, give him a 2nd? I think he might fall off slightly. We'll give him a 6th, but I think he does end up leading some laps. I think we'll give him, because he's starting in the 3rd position, we'll give him 15 laps led. Because also the people that who's starting in front of him, I think there's an opportunity for him to take a lead early. But I don't feel super confident on anybody leading the first stage. You know, like the last few weeks, you almost just saw it. It was almost like the writing was on the board. It was like, oh, the pole sitter's fast. They're fast here normally. They're fast in practice. They're going to go out. They're going to take the lead, and they're going to lead the first 30, 40, 50 laps. And then either that'll be the end of stage or they'll need a pit stop. So, 15 and 7, it's decent. We'll put him at a 42. If you think it's better when you do your calculator, you put in whatever you think is going to finish. Like I said, I'm being a little bit on the conservative side, and we'll kind of make the adjustments. But 42, if we look at the rankings, that puts him 6th on the board. A 42 Draftkings total is not going to get you what you need. But this is kind of more my indication of who I think has the best opportunity in the Draftkings world and where I potentially want to put him. So, like right now, Ryan Blaney, I'm probably going to put potentially as my number 1. Now, where do I put him percentage-wise of ownership? I think for DraftKings on large field tournaments, I think Ryan Blaney ends up being in the realm of, probably 40% owned, along with Joey Logano. I think they both kind of end up there. So if you want to differentiate, you either go more or less of those two. And, you just build your lineups that way. So, all right, let's continue on down this path here. My son is out playing pickleball with a bunch of his friends and keep getting a lot of text about lightning. Check the weather. See where we're at in the weather real quick. Try to get him sooner than later. Oh, it's out to the west of us, or east of us. We'll be all right. Sorry, part of being a dad. All right, Tyler Reddick. This isn't quite a short track. It's not quite an intermediate. Closer to more like a Phoenix, but Tyler Reddick still, we've not entered the realm of where Tyler Reddick does well. It's really once we get to Nashville, Gateway, Darlington, 1.25 miles or greater, Reddick seems to come back into play. Short flat tracks, it's a little tougher on Reddick. Do I think it's as bad as a 20th? No. Do I think it's more like a kind of where he finished last week of like 11th? Yeah, probably. His practice speeds were god awful. 31st in single lap, 26th in 10 lap. But if you look at the last 5 races we're looking at, which have been mostly short tracks, no top 5s, 1 top 10, and 2 top 20s with a 24.6 average finish. Rutman, are the driver reference cards available on the site? I can't find them. The driver reference cards, like this one here, no, they are not. I have the AI build it out into a PowerPoint, but that's probably a good call. I could put those cards out there. I mean, what is on the site is inside this calculator. Most of what's on that card is right here. So I don't know if that ends up helping you or not. And if you go and look at the optimizer, the Racing in the Draft ranking is here. Oops, won't do that. But yeah, it's right here. And then as you continue to build out your projections through the calculator, it changes here. So the card is not there. I could potentially see if the AI could build that out. It probably wouldn't be that hard of a problem. Don't know the. I'll see if I can get that built out. It won't be for this race, but I can see for the future if I can potentially get that built out. So that I want to make sure I add a couple different things to it. The AI keeps doing funny things with, like, I don't know why it's got the trend line and it's got the average fast laps. I mean, the fast laps are an important piece of the Draftkings puzzle, but realistically, if we're going to have the fast laps, I want to have average laps led, those types of things. So the reference cards are not on the website, but within the calculator optimizer, all that information is there. Hopefully that helps answer your question, Rutman. But I'll see if I can get when we're building this out for the AI to send that over also. But back to Tyler Reddick. And he's just not super great at this style track. It's not that he's awful, but he's not bad. Okay, hopefully that answers it. And yeah, I mean, definitely any suggestions you have like that, definitely send them over. We also have a Discord that is available. Link is down in the description. Jason says Reddick had a great qualifying lap last year too and fell off bad. Yep. It's just he's not super great here. He's gonna get the benefit of having a really good pit stall, which will help him throughout the race when he does bleed off some of these positions. It won't be as bad. But it's, I'm pretty much a full fade on Reddick at this point. I mean, honestly, if I'm running the 80 lineups, I potentially have 2 out of 80. So it's going to be in the single digits, below 5% ownership on Reddick. And I honestly probably expect the field to be probably 8 to 10% ownership on Reddick. I could be surprised if it goes to 12 or 13, just because some people just always put the pole sitter out there. Why, I don't really know, but they do. So yeah, I mean, yeah, he's not good at the style track. And after his practice speeds were just god awful, I don't expect anything. So he qualified in first. I'm gonna put him as a 12th place finish. And I mean, maybe he does lead some laps at the very beginning. He does get out front, but I think he very quickly gets overtaken. And the fast laps, maybe it is 8. I'm gonna leave it there. The 27.6 total. Once we lock that in and we go to rankings, it puts him last on the board. So, that's kind of where I'm putting him at this point. Like I said, I'm gonna probably, if I have 2 out of 80, I'll be shocked. Maybe even be 1. Andrew says Bubba being fast makes me not want to write off Reddick completely. Okay. I mean, Bubba was not that fast. He was 3rd in single lap, but he was 14th in 10 lap. We'll get to him in a minute, but yeah, well, I mean, he's 2 spots away. We got Chase, Barry, and then Bubba. So we'll get to Bubba here in a second. If I start bouncing around, I'll be here forever. I'm already here forever, anyways. Hour and 12 minutes in. But Chase Elliott, 29th qualification, power ranking of 6, mostly because of the place differential potential here. His practice speeds were not great. 8th in single lap, that's not bad, but 27th in 10 lap, and it continued to fall off a cliff from that point. The race trend is 1 top 5, 1 top 10, 4 top 20s, a 17th place average finish for the last 5 races. Richmond. His best finish over the 5 races with New Hampshire, Richmond, and Phoenix is 5th. Last race here last year was 5th. 11 total starts, 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s with a 13.4 average finish. I think probably that's a bad spot to put him. But if we look at his practice speeds, he comes off, it's bad. He gets better. Running the average, he goes back. He's all over the board. A lot of ups and downs following him through. He's worse than average. He comes in and gets the adjustment. Then he fires back off, but it literally falls off a cliff from 42 to 54. So within 10 laps, he's fallen off way past the average. Now, will Alex Gustafson make some adjustments to his car? Will Chase Elliott potentially, as long as he keeps his car clean, he doesn't get in the wall, doesn't get put into the wall by somebody else. The problem is he's now back there starting in the muck that I like to call. So, Chase Elliott, 29th. I think a 13th place finish is fine. I don't think it leads a bunch of laps. Could be wrong. Crew chief does love to throw wild haymakers at these restarts if they have the opportunity. But it also ends up biting him in the backside. And Elliott's not known for running a ton of fast laps. In fact, we look up here, the average fast laps for the last 5 at the same track is 4, and the trend line is 3.6. So we'll give him 3. But a 29th to 13th is a 48.4. If you lock that score in and put him in the rankings, it's 4th on the board. And that's with the 13th place finish. So it's definitely got that potential there. Josh Berry, who is on one heck of a run right now. But he's just following the lead of the Penske's. I mean, Josh Berry's a great driver. This track suits Josh Berry's driving style. It's what he cut his teeth in with the late model stock car races. I mean, actually, a mile track is actually a little bit on the large side, but the tire wear, the handling, the braking, the downshifting, all those things come into play. I mean, I've said it for the last 4 weeks. This falls right into Josh Berry's wheelhouse, but it does. Um, it's these tracks are very similar to North Wilkesboro, Richmond, and those types of things. And Berry's usually really good at those. And Penske / Wood Brothers, which is pretty much a sister company to Penske, it falls right into their wheelhouse. So he qualified second, power ranking of 11th. His practice speeds were 9th and 7th, both top 10 there. The last 5 races, 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, 3 top 20s. Now, I don't love Josh Berry's qualification in second, but I do like the potential he can go out and lead some laps because of who he's starting next to Tyler Reddick. I think he definitely could get out in front of Tyler Reddick. I mean, his practice speeds were, if I follow the line, he's not as fast as Blaney, not quite as fast as Byron. On the second run, I remember he's doing this here on lap 45, where these guys came in and made adjustments on lap 33. So there's a 12 lap difference between these. So if you start to look, the line is actually very similar to Blaney's on the way the fall off speeds end up coming into play. I mean, you've got Reddick in first and Byron starting in third. I think Josh Berry's got the ability to stay in front of Byron and get in front of Reddick. So I think he ends up leading some laps. How many of that is, I don't know. I'm going to give him 20, and I'm going to give him 10 fast laps. But the problem is, I think he ends up finishing 8th or 9th on the day. I think he ends up getting a top 10 and maintaining and holding on to that top 10. But I think that's probably about as good as it gets. It's a 41.5 day. So I'm going to lock it in. If I'm running 2 out of 80 lineups with Reddick, I'm probably running 6 or 8. So somewhere between 8 and 10% of Berry. But I just don't think he goes out and dominates this race. He could. But I don't think it's to light the world on fire type of day for Josh Berry. I think it's go maintain, get a top 10. It's a 41.5. 8th on the board right now. All right. Andrew says, Bubba Wallace, fast. Let's see. I mean, qualified in 23rd, so that was not very good. He missed his qualifying lap. His practice speeds were 3rd in single lap, 14th in 10 lap, did 52 laps. The trend line is not really Bubba's friend. 2 top 10s, 4 top 20s, a 14th place average finish. His best finish over the last 5 races, the 3 at New Hampshire, 1 at Richmond, 1 at Phoenix, is 6. The last race here at New Hampshire, he finished 26. He's got an average finish of 22nd with 1 top 5, 2 top 10s over the last 7 starts. All right, let's look at the chart. It does not look like he comes in for an adjustment. He fires off. He's not as fast as Byron or Blaney. And since he doesn't make the adjustment, you kind of have to start to look the other follow. It's just so hard to tell. Because he does come back and fires off at least a little bit faster here, lap 25. And I just don't know if that's just an anomaly that he ended up getting a fast lap in there or had a clean racetrack or hit something right. It's hard to say, but it does not appear where he has the steep gain of speed around this lap 30 to 35, like everyone else does. So it makes me wonder if he actually did come in and make an adjustment or not. Once again, without watching everybody's every lap, it's really hard to kind of tell. But as far as Bubba being fast in practice, I mean, it's not slow up until that lap 30. Afterwards, he falls off a cliff compared to everyone else, which makes me think they were just on the same tire and made it to lap 50. So it's hard to compare. We're kind of comparing that apple to orange, and they're just different things. They're both round. They're both kind of a fruit, but really don't fall into the same boat. But I do think Bubba ends up having a decent day. The average is 19th here. Now, maybe it's a 12th. I don't think he leads any laps. I think maybe he has the 4 fast laps. So a 23rd to 12th, it's 44.8. But to correlate that back to Reddick, I don't. I still think a first to whatever I put Reddick at. I think I put both of them kind of in this teens, lower teens type of area. 13th, I think, for Reddick. Where Bubba ends up getting 44 points and Reddick gets 27. Yeah, I mean it's almost a 20-point difference. And I know my point totals are a little conservative, but that's just kind of where I think it's going to be at. So Austin Cindric, practice speeds were 5th in single lap, 21st in 10 lap consecutive average. The trend line is okay. 1 top 5, which was from last week at Richmond. 4 top 20s on a 14.6 average finish. He finished best 3rd last week at Richmond. And for the last race here at New Hampshire was 17th. He's never finished in the top 10. I think it's probably close to the same. It's probably going to be like a 14th, 15th place finish. Could potentially end up being better. Look at his practice speeds. I mean, same type of thing. It does not look like he comes in for a major adjustment. He's got I don't know what this is, a whoa crap moment during one of his practice laps. And that could easily be he had to check up for somebody, he got loose in a corner. It's really hard to say what this anomaly is. The rest of it, if you skip over that, the rest of it kind of falls into line. The 48 laps, I mean, maybe he comes in and because he gets really slow way up here, then gets much better. So maybe he came in and got adjustment or new tires or cooled something off. But yeah, I think with these practice speeds, 14th, 15th type place finish at best. This has 20th. I'm going to give him a 16th. I don't think he leads any laps. 5 fast laps. That may be a little on the high side. Let's go 3. 39.4. So it puts him 10th on the board right now. All right. And as we continue down our path here, it just says I'm going to have to take that one back. I mean, I don't think it's awful. The single lap speed is what sometimes throws a bunch of people off. Once you start to look at the overall picture, it all of a sudden paints a different picture. His single lap speed was fine, but we don't have single lap shootouts for 301 laps. So that's the problem I have with Bubba and Reddick. I mean, the Bubba, I have no problem taking some ownership in Bubba. There's place differential there. There's no place differential for Reddick. He's got to go out and lead a ton of laps and win the race for me to take him in Draftkings. And I just don't see it. Is it possible? Absolutely. Will I be eating crow tomorrow night? If it is, yep, I sure will. But all the indications are Reddick's not good at this style track. His practice speeds were awful. He just happened to pull off a flyer. 1 lap flyers don't win 301 lap races. So, and they definitely do not win Draftkings. So I'm willing to eat the crow on that if it ends up being the case. Okay, Ross Chastain, who's, I mean, kind of like Josh Berry, has turned it on here late. And I just think it's a little too late for him to make the chase. Can he do it? Possibly. He's going to need a lot of help. And I mean, maybe he gets it with, if we have some really, really crazy weather tomorrow, we have some really crazy things happen and he's not part of it. But he was 14th in single lap, 5th in 10 lap consecutive average, qualified at 12th. The last 5 race trend is 1 top 10, 3 top 20s, a 17.2 average finish. It's been, I mean, he's better than he was at the beginning of the year. It's still not great. The best finish over the last 5 races, either at Richmond, Phoenix, or the 3 here at New Hampshire, is 9th, where he finished 9th here last year. So not great. He does have 4 top 10s out of the 6 starts with a 12.8 average finish. If we look at his practice speeds, he does come in to make the adjustment and fires off pretty darn quick, and that's where his fast lap came from. And he actually is as fast or not faster than Blaney or Byron, and then kind of falls off and runs in between the two of them. So, can Ross end up pulling off a Hell Melon? Is that what it was called at Martinsville? I was there for that. That was a while. But, so Ross 12th. I think it's more you finish where you start. We'll put him at 11th. I think we'll give him the 2 fast laps. I don't think he leads any laps. 34.9. We'll lock it in and move on to Chris Buescher. Oh, RFK and Buescher have definitely been struggling as of late. The last 5 race trend, it's no top 10s, 4 top 20s. So that's not bad, but that doesn't help you secure playoff pace spots. That's for sure. A 16.8 average finish. The best finish over the last 5 races at New Hampshire, Richmond, and Phoenix is a 5th. Last year, he finished 18th here. And I remember back in the day when Roush used to be dominant up here. This was Roush's neck of the woods. And if you know what RFK stands for, it's Roush Fenway Kozlowski. Well, the Fenway Group owns part of the Red Sox. Well, that's like an hour and a half away from the track. So this is Roush RFK's backyard. This is their playground. This is where they should perform extremely well. And they just haven't really recently. They used to 15, 20 years ago. But it has not been the case as of recent. Chris Buescher's practice speeds. He's in the yellow. It's not bad. Comes in and makes the adjustment. It's not. It's an average. It's better than average. It's not super fast. It's not super slow. He's qualified in the 16th. I think he probably ends up slightly improving it. Gets like a 9th place finish. Kind of where I'm going to put it. Probably doesn't lead a whole lot of laps. Might have the 2 fast laps. 42.9 for Chris Buescher is kind of where I'm going to lock him in at. All right, his teammate and part owner of the team, Brad Keselowski here, $7,500. 17th on the power ranking, qualified in 25th. His practice speeds were 25th in the single lap, 13th in 10 lap consecutive average. The trend over the last 5 races, 2 top 10s of the 17.2 average finish. It's been either finished in the top 10 or finished way back in the back, where he had a 5th place finish 2 years ago here at New Hampshire. Last year was a 23rd, 24 total starts. He does have 2 wins to his record here, 10 top 5s, 15 top 10s, 19 out of 24. So, I mean, Brad's typically pretty good here. But his practice speeds are not bad. even when they came in to make the adjustment and fired off, the adjustment was not very fast, and then ends up he's much slower. You could see the differences between them already. I mean, Brad's starting in 25th. I think it's like a 16th place. This says 19th. I'm gonna go a 17th place finish. 2 fast laps, 35.9. It's not gonna be a great day. And then finally we have the wow, that's kind of crazy. Busher, Brad, and Priest all right in order. All RFK drivers put there together. How cute. 16th on the power ranking. I mean, out of all the drivers who should be extremely good at New Hampshire would be Ryan Priest. He's from Vermont or somewhere in the New England states and cut his teeth driving on this track. He qualified on 18th. His practice speeds are 28th and 18th. He's the crazy thing is he's never performed super well here. 3 out of 3 top 20s, no top 10s out of 7 total starts. His best finish, or his last year's finish was 14th. Best finish of 11th. And his practice speeds, I mean, they're average. Comes and makes the adjustment. Now, his long run speed on the adjustment was actually not bad. Now, it happened 4 or 5 laps after. Was that 33 and 38? So 5 laps difference. But he's actually better than Blaney slightly on the long run. So his long run speed's not awful. Qualified in 18th. Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the work to the slides, the site. They both look great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. We do this every Saturday or Sunday. I'd love to do Sunday mornings. The viewership is way better, but it just works out better on Saturday nights because this is a long broadcast. It gives you a chance to actually go back and watch and replay, or if you're not watching it Saturday night, gives you time to watch mornings. And you can fast forward and do all the fun things that you need to do on Sundays. Whereas if I started this thing at 10 o'clock in the morning and we had a lock at 2, you'd have very little time between the time I finish this and you have to lock in your drivers. So that's why I like to do this on Saturday nights. The viewership is actually better on Sunday morning, but I don't necessarily do this for viewerships. If I get them, it's great, but it's not why I do it. 18th qualifying, I think 17th probably about where he finishes. I don't think he leads any laps. Give him the 2 fast laps, 28.9. We're going to lock the score. Let's look at the rankings real quick. Ryan Blaney's still sitting up top. Joey Logano, Christopher Bell. Down at the bottom, it's Reddick, Priest, Gibbs, Chastain, Brad at the bottom. All right, let's go back to the calculator. Carson Hocevar next in line here. Boy, you want to talk about having a rough couple of weeks. It's Carson Hocevar. I mean, honestly, I think Carson Hocevar was outperforming earlier this year, and this is kind of more where he probably should be at. I mean, I like Carson. I think he's great for the sport. I think all the things that he does is great. I'd like his personality. I think it's good for the sport. He's not the caliber driver that he was showing up to be. I think he had a lot of really good luck, but this is more of where I think Carson should be. Like I said, I like him, but this is much more the Carson Hocevar expected this year. Now I think in a couple of years, with some more experience, he gets a little bit more control of the car. He doesn't piss everybody off every week. He has a much better chance at doing better. So, let's see. Qualified 22nd. His practice speeds were 27th and 17th. It doesn't seem like whatever was ailing them has cured them. The last 5 trend, 1 top 10, 2 top 20s, 22.4 average finish, with a best of 11th. The last race here at New Hampshire was an 11th, and he's never scored inside the top 10. He's qualified in 22nd. If we look at his practice speeds, They're about what I expect for Carson. He goes out and he burns his stuff up too quick and then falls off the cliff. Comes back, he gets new tires and falls off the cliff. I don't see it being any better this week than it has been for Carson. I think the algorithm has it right. I think it's a 21st place finish. I think he does have the 4 fast laps. In fact, I'll bump that up to 6 because he has a tendency to just go out and rip laps and will get fast laps. No doubt. But then it just burns up and he slides backwards. So 22nd, 21st, in a finishing spot, 6 fast laps. We'll lock in at 25.7, and it puts him last. Sorry about your luck, Carson, but that's just where I see it happening. Okay, Alex Bowman. Congratulations to Connor Zilic on taking over the 48 next year, or 2 years from now. Actually, like 18 months, whatever it is. 2000, not next season, but the following season. When Alex Bowman decides to step away. So congratulations on Alex Bowman for stepping away. While we've got him, though, he qualified in 10th. Practice speeds were 19th and single lap 20th and 10 lap consecutive average. The trend line's not bad for old Alex Bowman here. 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s, 18.8 average finish over the last 5 races. Best finish over the last 5 New Hampshire type races, 10th. He finished 15th here last year, and he's qualified in the 10th spot. He's never finished in the top 5 here, but does have the 1 top 10. 23.3 average finish. Let's look at his practice speeds. They're not bad. They're not as good as Byron or Blaney. Even with the adjustments, they come back and they very quickly fall off past the average. I'm going to say it's more like a 15th place finish at best. This says 19th. I'll lower it to 16th. And I mean, he's not known for a lot of fast laps. I mean, last 5 of the same track, it's 0.8, and the trend line is 0. So we'll leave him at 1. We'll lock the score. It actually puts him last out there. So, okay, SVG. Oh, why? SVG with a heck of a qualifying lap. Well, where else has he done this? North Wilkesboro, Iowa. What did he do at both of those tracks? Finished top 10. Led a bunch of laps in North Wilkesboro. And contended for the win up against Joey Logano. That ended up finishing in the top 5. Is this another indication of SVG starting in the top 5 or top 10 and holding and maintaining for the entire race? Possibly. I don't know, to be perfect. Really, what I'm saying is I don't know. The trend line is, yes, he goes and gets a 5th place finish. Maybe he leads a few laps, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he has some fast laps, maybe he doesn't. But it's a 5th to a 5th. What does that end up looking like on the calculator? I don't know. Let's look at the practice speeds. And the practice speeds actually are not bad. First run's a little bit on the slow side. After you make the adjustments, he's slower than Blaney and Byron, because you got to think he comes back out on lap 39, where this is lap 34. So 5 laps difference, and he's already as slow as Blaney is. So, it is it quite apple to apple? It's close, but he is a little bit slower. I don't think the algorithmic average figures this out right. I don't think it sees the trend. So when you're building laps, you're just going to have to make a choice. You're going to have to tell the story of SVG is going to do what SVG has done the last few times when he started in the top 10 and finished in the top 10, or started in the top 5 and finished close to the top 5. You either have to build the lineup with that storyline in place, or if you don't think that's the story, you need to leave him off your lineups. Because if he ends up starting and finishing close to 6, and I don't think it's 12 fast laps. It's going to be 4. And that's not him leading any laps. He could go out and lead some laps like he did in North Wilkesboro. That is very highly possible. Likely, 10 to 15% chance. But it's there. But a 5th to 6th with 4 fast laps is a 38.8. If you lock that in, that puts him 13th on the board. I mean, it's ahead of Brad, Ross, Ty Gibbs, Ryan Priest, Tyler Reddick, Carson Osvar, and Alex Bowman. But he's still got a lot of other guys in front of him. So I think it's you build the lineup. If you build the lineup with SVG doing well, then have that being one of the 2 guys that starts up front and stays up front. But I wouldn't bank on him leading a bunch of laps. Could he? Sure. So what does that look like? Let's say he does go lead a bunch of laps. Let's say he finishes in 4th, improves by 1 position, but he leads 20 laps and has 10 fast laps. That bumps him to a 50.5. And then that puts him 3rd on the board for rankings. And it puts him actually into the optimal because of his price tag. So you just have to build out what you think is a realistic possibility. Since I'm running this conservatively, I'm going to go with 5th, a 6th place finish starting in 5th, 4 fast laps, no laps led, and lock him into 38.8. All right, next in line, Austin Dillon. No surprise, last week he was not great. His practice speed showed he wasn't great, and he did exactly what I thought he was going to do. Once I saw his practice speeds, it was a very clear and apparent that Austin Dillon did not have the same car and same handling characteristics as he had in the past. Sounds like it's raining outside. Qualified in 34th. Practice speeds were 33rd and 30th. Same week. Same thing as last week. Now, he's faster last week than he is this week. But his practice speeds, I mean, the first run, he is way slower than average. Second run, he comes in and fires off, and he's been 29.7 to a 29.4. He's 3/10 off the fast lap of Ryan Blaney, and then immediately falls past the average. Yeah. Is it 34th? No. It's probably like a 26th or 27th type of speed. That's not going to get you anywhere. I'll give him a 23rd. He's not going to lead any laps. And I doubt he has any fast laps. We give everybody 1. The 31.1. Now, it's better than Alex Bowman because he's going to gain 11 spots of place differential. Where Alex Bowman, we had him losing. That's the big difference. All right, Daniel Suarez next in line here. Wow, what a qualifying lap. If you happen to watch qualifying, Daniel Suarez pretty much just drifted the entire turn 1 and 2. He got loose going into the turn and just kept in it and just slid all the way around it. I could have sworn he was going to eat the wall at one point. And that just killed his qualifying lap. Not that he was fast in practice. He was 32nd in single lap, 24th in 10 lap consecutive average. And the trend line, I mean, it's about where Spire has been. It's 1 top 5 or 1 top 10, 4 top 20s, a 15.8 average finish. It's better than his teammate, but it's not great. The best finish over the last 5 races at New Hampshire style races is 16th. Yeah, I mean, starting in 35th, he's got some room to run. And his practice speeds are not 35th. They're not great, but they're not 35th. They're close to, I mean, they're not 35th. They're kind of like Austin Dillon. It's like a 22nd, 23rd, 24th type of position. This says 24th for the algorithm. 2 fast laps, maybe. But we'll lock it. We'll let him have the 2. 30.9. Connor Zilic. Has Connor Zilic finally made the turn, and congratulations on Connor Zilic. You get to cut your 8 in half, the first 8 in half, and make it a 48 for whatever 36, 46, 47, 48 races from now. 48 races. No, it's not. Yeah, 48 races now. The Connor Zilic can be the 48. Qualified in 20th. Practice speeds were 20th and 23rd. Is the monkey finally off of Connor Zilic's back? I'm gonna lean to yes. Now, does that mean he goes out and wins the race? Does that mean he goes out and gets a top 10? Probably unlikely. It's because his practice speeds were still a little bit. Lost Profit, what's up, buddy? You're gonna scroll back. Okay. We'll still be here for the next, 3, 4, 5 hours. Like how these videos go. I like to talk for a really, really long time. Oh, it is raining at my house. But yeah. Love it. Yeah. My vocal cords don't love it. I do. I don't mind talking. But Connor Zilic, I mean, the biggest thing is I think this is kind of where Connor Zilic should be for his freshman year in the Cup Series. He shouldn't be. He doesn't need to be winning races. He needs to finish races. And because we don't have a lot of history with Connor Zilic, it's throwing the finishing position. I think it's you finish where you start, kind of. Maybe you get a fast lap, 21st. I'm not looking for anything from him. I'm not going to probably run a whole lot of him. I don't think there's a ton of place difference. I don't think he goes out and gets a top 10 this week. He could potentially get a 35th, like he has been in the past. But even finishing 21st, it's not like I'm going to run out and run him in a bunch of lineups. For him to do well, he's going to need to get, 7th. He's going to need to get a top 10 and have some fast laps. But I think it's on the conservative side of things. I think it's finish where you start. I'm locking him in at 21.5. I'm not going to run a whole lot of him. He's probably going to be there with Tyler Reddick. I'm going to run him in 2 to maybe 4 lineups. Eric Jones, who, gosh, I mean, up until they took the break, Eric Jones was looking phenomenal and looked like he had a real shot at making the chase. I think that is completely over and done with. And though being first in practice doesn't mean a hill of beans when it comes to actually how well you'll actually run the race. He qualified in 11th. He was first and 8th in the 10 lap. But the trend line is 1 top 20, no top 10s, 24.6 average finish. I think he gets back on to a better race, but I don't think it's much better than where he's starting from. Wow, it's really raining outside. I don't know if anybody can hear that. And if we look at his practice speeds, it's just they don't even have his fast lap because they literally came in somewhere in here and went out and ran a blistering fast lap and then called it quits. So it doesn't even show up on here. It's kind of strange. I'll have to figure out why that happened. But yeah, it's just starting 11th. Is it 18th? I don't know. I mean, I think this is another one that it's going to be a lot like a Reddick. It's going to be, okay, I think Eric Jones ends up having a really good day, which is going to be 2 out of 80 times. And I think he's going to get a top 3. I think maybe he has 10 fast laps and he gets a 53.5. And at his price at 6,300, that puts him probably close to an optimal. So maybe I'll run him 4 out of 80 times. Maybe it's a 5% instead of a 2%. I'm not going to run a whole lot of it. The same thing with the Connor Zilic. I'm not going to run a whole lot of it. Is there a potential opportunity? Yeah. Especially if we get rained. We get rained and they've got wet weather tires, and it's slick and it's slippery slidey, and all mayhem breaks loose, and Eric Jones ends up getting a top 3. Sure, potential. You're asking for a lot of different things to happen that are a little bit out of the ordinary. So I'm gonna lock him in a finish where you start type of day, start 11th, finish in 10th, have 4 fast laps, 36.8. It's not a bad day. Puts him 14th on my board so far out of 24 drivers. So, Michael McDowell, next in line here, qualified in 15th. Let's look at him. Power ranking of 22nd. Practice was 12th. In single lap, 9th, and 10 lap consecutive average. 1 top 20. That's a little concerning over the last 3 races at New Hampshire, Richmond, and that's a trend line. Switching between? No. Okay. So the last 5 races post Richmond, 1 top 20, 24.4. I mean, that's honestly probably where it's going to end up being. He finished 8th here last year at New Hampshire, 22 total starts, 1 top 10, an average finish at 25.5. Look at his practice speeds. Not bad. He waits a really long time to come in and get the adjustment in a fast lap. It's not as fast as his first lap. Track's also dirtier, so be expected. And it kind of follows the line along with Blaney and them, but I mean, you got to remember this is lap 42 to 33, so 10 laps, 9 laps difference, and you're running the same speed. That's yeah. I mean, qualified in 15th. I think it's going to be like a 17th, maybe have 2 fast laps. We'll give him a 25.9 and move on to Riley Herbst, who also still does not have a ride for next year at this point, as far as I know. So he and Josh Berry are the 2 souls looking for rides, looking to make a statement here. And qualifying in 27th probably isn't it. Practicing 26th and 25th probably isn't it. Power ranking of 26. Guess what? We're looking at probably about a 25th, 26th place finish. His average finish over the last 5 races is 21.8. His best finish at New Hampshire, Richmond, or Phoenix is 18th. Last finish here at New Hampshire last year was 22nd. That was his only race. I honestly, and we look at his practice speeds, oh, yeah, when we're looking at a heart monitor, not a racetrack, that's when I go, oh, we got problems. We've got real problems, especially when you have the slowest practice speed. He went off the chart. He's the only driver that goes off the chart. Riley starting 27th. I think you're lucky to get 21st. I'm going to give you a 26th place finish, and we'll give you the token 1 fast lap. 17.5. Hey, look who's up next. Zane Smith. It's the channel's mascot favorite driver on the board. Qualified in 14th. Oh, this is the spot that everybody in this channel loves to go and run Zane Smith, is when he qualifies 12th, 13th, 14th, or 15th. And it's like, oh my God, why did you qualify there? I can't do anything with you. And then he goes out and gets a 6th place finish. And I go, well, damn, okay. But for the trend, the last 5 races, he does not have a top 10 and only 2 top 20. So the 23rd place average finish. Best finish for the 5 races at, I guess it's 2 at New Hampshire, 1 at Richmond, 1 at Phoenix, is 27th. An average finish of 30th here at New Hampshire. And he goes out and qualifies 14th. All right, let's look at his practice speed. Everybody loves some Zane. Ooh, thunder going on. Hopefully I don't lose power. If I happen to disappear, good luck tomorrow. I'm kidding. I'll jump back on once I get power back, if I get power back. As long as my computer doesn't get fried. They don't usually anymore. I've got 3 power strips between me and the outside world. His first practice speeds were not great. Nobody's really were. But then even when he comes in and his fast laps, they're not very fast. 29.7 to a 29.4 is 3/10 off fast lap. What was his fast lap practice? 22nd. That makes sense. And then it just kind of falls off. This is not 14th place speed. I hate to tell the fans, but that's not 14th place speed. Will they be able to make adjustments? Can they hold track position? Maybe. I mean, right now, the algorithm has a negative for him. I'm going to go with a 21st and go with a 15.5 day. Ugh. But, so what does Zane need to do? What does Zane need to do for the fan favorites? Goes out and gets a 5th place finish and has 3 fast laps, 49.4. Puts him potentially in the optimal at $5,900. Gonna be real close at $5,900. Can Zane go get a top 7? Ooh, 7th puts him there, 45.4. That's a tough call, though. That's right on that edge. Really going to need to get closer to 50. Going to need to get a top 5. Can Zane go get a top 5? I'd give as much of a shot of Zane getting a top 5 as I do Reddick getting a top 3. So, I'm going to run him in 2 lineups. I know he's the fan favorite. I know everybody in the channel loves him. And I like Zane, but I don't like. I'll run him twice. AJ Allmendinger, the little team that could. The little team has tried and tries and does actually pretty well with what they have because they have no manufacturing support, no sim time. It's literally show up to the track and go, I think we set the car up right. And a lot of times they do. And a lot of times they miss a little. Practice speeds were 15th in the single lap, 34th in the 10 lap consecutive average over the last 5 races. He's got 1 top 10, 2 top 20s. I mean, the little team that could, AJ is putting together actually a pretty remarkable year. I have to give him the little engine that could, little team that could, is actually doing pretty well. Now, do I think it's going to be better than the 24th that he qualified? Probably not. It's just nothing in here. He's at best average, but very quickly falls off the average. And let's see. I'm just going to put Zane. I'll lock him in there for me. AJ, I mean, this has finishing where he starts, and I think that's probably about the truth of it. You know, if he gets and goes and finishes in 10th, it puts him pretty close to an optimal. So if you think AJ can go get a top 10, which I'll probably run him like I do Zane. Maybe I'll run him 3 or 4 times, but I'm not doing a whole lot. It's gonna be just where it happens to fit. Yeah, 23.9, 22nd place finish. That's respectable. It's fine. It's a little team that could. And it's a little team that does. As long as he doesn't have any real issues or blow-ups, he'll be okay. You know, I mean, the whole thing is tomorrow, if it really, really looks like it's going to rain all day, and it's just raining enough to where the track's slightly wet, and they're able to run a lot, this thing could be all over the place. We'll have no clue what. John Nemechek, power ranking of 31st, qualified in 31st. Practice speeds were pretty good. 7th in single lap, 19th in 10 lap consecutive average. 1 top 20, no top 10s over the last 5 races. The best finish out of the last 5 races, 8th place, I think, was in New Hampshire 2 years ago when the rains happened. Average finish of 22nd. Practice speeds were not bad. Comes back, fires off pretty quick, but then very quickly falls off. Is it a 31st place day? Potentially. This has 22nd. I'll let him bump it to 24th. We'll give him the 1 fast lap, 26.5 for the day. Todd Gilliland, Zane Smith's partner in crime. Todd Gilliland was Cookie Monster and stole all the cookies from Ryan Blaney at Indy and got $1 million of those cookies. But Todd Gillen qualified in 13th, 29th and 29th. Man, what is up with Zane and Noah? And freaking Noah qualified top 22. What is up with front row qualifying in the top 20 when none of their practice speeds are there? They took the Tyler Reddick pill or something. 29th, 29th. Last 5 races, 1 top 10, 2 top 20s, 20th place average finish. 18.5 has never finished in the top 10. Practice speeds were not good. Came back, fired off fun, and dropped off a cliff. Yeah, I mean it's probably a 19th, but we're sitting at the same boat as a Zane Smith. If he goes off and gets a top 5, it puts him into optimal range. Is it now? Am I going to go run it because of that? No. Am I going to run 2 to 4 lineups with him in it? Yeah, because it's going to be it's sneaky. It's different. It's how you win big tournaments. If Todd Gillen goes gets a top 5, if Zane Smith goes gets a top 5, they're going to be super low owned. If you have them and somebody else doesn't, and he does well, you're sitting in the catbird seat, and you just ate the canary, and everybody's like, "Who ate the canary?" I don't know, but I just want all the money because I ran Todd Gillen and you didn't. Now, the likelihood of that is slim. That's why it's sneaky. That's why it's a long shot pick. Could it pay off? Sure. Will I run it in some lineups? Sure. Do I think lightning strikes twice in the same spot? Probably not. So am I going to run a Todd Gillen and a Zane Smith? No. You can. I just don't think I don't think lightning strikes twice in the same lineup. So run one of them. Don't run. I wouldn't run both of them. You can do what you want, but I wouldn't run. Austin Hill. Yeah. Honestly, this track's almost too identical for Austin Hill. Why this is 22nd? I don't know. I think that's way out of proportion. What do practice speeds look like? 35th and 32nd. He has a 30.4 average finish for the last 5 races. We don't have any other data. And if we look at his practice speeds, they're slow to start. It comes out, makes an adjustment, comes back, fires off okay. But you got to remember, at this point, he's 11 laps. He's the same speed as Ryan Blaney is with an 11-lap old tire. That's not great, and they follow the path with each other, but Blaney's got 11-lap older tires at that point. So it's probably a finish where you start day for Austin Hill. We'll give him the 1 fast lap, 28th to 28th, 14.5. Noah Gregson. Oh, front row. What'd you do to me here? Qualified in 19th. His practice speeds actually seem to be better than the rest of his teammates. His practice speed was 21st in single lap, 16th in 10 lap. And in the last 5 races, he's got 2 top 20s, 21.6. 3 total starts here at New Hampshire, 1 top 20 with a 27th place average finish. All right. I actually like his practice speeds better than I do anybody else's, and he's got the better place difference. So if he goes out, let's say he finishes where he starts in 19th, that's 25 points. If he goes, he gets a top 10, 41 points. He's 5,400. I think honestly, he needs it's gonna be a lightning strike. For Noah to be in there. I kind of like him in that 23rd spot. I'm gonna lock him in at 16th. Oops, he gets the 1 fast. Everybody gets the 1 fast lap. But I could if you're looking to be sneaky, so I'd run like 2 lineups with Noah Gregson. Then I'd run 2 other lineups with Todd Gillen, and then I'd run 2 other lineups with Zane Smith. I would not run the 3 of them together. I would run them all in separate lineups. If you're looking to, if we're gonna have to run some cheapos, run a Noah and a Ricky, but 3 from the same team that all are starting in the top 20, where you need them to have top 5 finishes. That's a lightning strike. And lightning's not going to strike twice in your lineup. All right, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 27th on the power ranking, 30th qualified lap. Practice speeds were 34th and 31st, not good. The trend line is okay. For Ricky, $5,300. Another little team that could. The problem is they're not any better than AJ. In fact, AJ I think's better. Two top 20s, a 25.8 average finish for the last 5 races on the trend line. He's got out of 17 total starts, he's got 3 top 10s and 10 top 20s out of 17. That's actually not bad. 16.4. Practice laps were not great. He's starting 31st, 30th. Where does that put him? 21st. I'll take the 21st finishing position. You're not gonna lead a lap. 2 fast laps, 31.9. I'll lock it in. I mean, that's the best we've had since Eric Jones. And it puts Ricky 18th on the board out of 33 drivers. So kind of in the middle. Cole Custer, power ranking of 32nd, qualified 32nd. Practice speeds were 30th and 35th. And the trend line is 1 top 20. For a moment there, Cole Custer and Stuart Haas were having an okay run, and that seems to have fallen off. Out of his 5 total starts, he's got 1 top 10, 2 top 20, 16.3. Practice speeds were great. Is it 32nd? I don't mind running a Cole Custer run him twice. You know, if he goes out and gets a 17th, it's a top 20 almost. Top 20 with 3 fast laps. Puts him in a 36.4. It's not going to be enough. He's got to be almost in top 15 realistically. But I don't think there we go. That's another lightning strike. That's a long shot. That's a place differential. Good salary relief. But honestly, it's going to be like a 27th place finish at best. So 21.4. Ty Dillon, we're almost done here. We're just over 2 hours. We'll try to get this wrapped up. Everybody on their way for the evening and on to building lineups for tomorrow. Qualified in 33rd, power ranking of 35th. He was 36th and 33rd. I mean, $5,000. Oops. There we go. 24.4 average finish over the last 5 race trend. 2 top 20s. And you go get a 24th place finish. It's not awful. His average finish here over 8 starts is a 22.7. So like a 23rd, starting in 33rd. It's not great. His practice speeds are not great. They're better than average in some spots, not as good as average in some. That puts him, I think we move him down to a 23rd, gets the 1 fast lap. It's a 30.5. It's still probably not enough, but it's not to a point where I don't run a Ty Dillon. Run him in a couple lineups. I like the Ty Dillon, Ricky Stenhouse calls for cheapos, and then you can run a couple of Noah Gregsons or Todd Gillens to be really different on your lineup. Is Cody Ware in the ballpark? He did 42 laps of practice, $4,800. I've always got to call him out when he does good. 42 laps, that's pretty good. He was 24th in single lap. That's actually not bad. It's 36th in 10 lap. So he falls off a cliff. How much of a cliff does he fall off? Oh, he has a heart attack. He's all over the place. Get him a defibrillator. But he does come out and fire off pretty fast and then falls back off a cliff again. So this needs to be a sloppy race for Cody to do anything. 31.2 average finish. His 4 starts here is a 33rd. I think it's a finish restart type of day. I'm going to say Cody Ware's not viable. You can play him, but I don't think he would need to finish 20th or better. It would have to be a really sloppy day for him to finish far back. I think even on a sloppy day, I think it's a 29th, 28th, 30th. It's a 19.7. It's better than Noah. It's better than Austin Hill. 33rd. I don't want to do that. Yeah, Cody's last, Austin Hill, Noah Gregson, Todd Gillen, Riley Herbst. But I mean, the difference is I think Noah's playable in a few lineups. Todd's playable in a few lineups. All these guys are playable in a few lineups. But I mean, that puts Ryan Blaney, Joe Logano. It didn't change our top guys much. It's more of who do you think solid down here. All right. So now that we've got the calculator all built out, we've gone through all of our drivers. If you want, once you go through the calculator, you go to rankings, download the CSV file. So it pulls everybody up. It's got their salary, their starting position, and what you just projected them at. Not necessarily saying that that's where they're going to be, but this gives you an idea who you like the best and who you don't like. Then you can start to build your lineups. But at least you have this in case power goes out, close the tab by accident, whatever it is. Now you come over to the optimal lineup builder right next to the rankings calculator, rankings optimize. Now your projections that you just filled in are all down here. So for guys that you want to completely exclude off, Cody Ware, I don't want. I'm going to exclude him out. He's locked out. Austin Hill, I don't like it. I'm locking him out. Now the Noah, I'm going to potentially run, what did I say, 1 to 5%. Todd Gillen, 1 5%. And that's when you just start to go through all this. So you can start all at the top. Ryan Blaney, I like him a pretty large amount. So 30 to 60%. Joe Logano, same thing, 30 to 60%. You just fill out the minimum percentage and the maximum percentage. Oh, you can't see the maximum. There we go. Sorry about that. And then you just continue to build all this out. And then at that point, how many lineups do you want to run? 20, or it's 80. I don't know. Go up to 150 here. So I like to build 80 lineups. I build over half of mine by hand. So I use this for about 20 of my lineups just to kind of see how good the optimizer does. And then, how much salary cap do you want to leave on the board? 4,800 to 5 to 50,000. Cool. How much variance do you want in your lineups? You slide this back and forth on how much of a variance. So I want a decent amount of variance, 40%. The leverage, if you know ownership from some of the other sites that are out there that have a huge pay wall that people pay to use their optimizers, they're tracking all of that data and they know at least how people are building lineups, and that's where they come up with ownership. They don't really know the ownership. They're taking a guess on how people are building out on their sites. And maybe if we have enough people building out on here, I can get to where this would start to show the ownership, and then you could leverage off of that. We're not there yet. And if we ever get there, cool. If we don't, about it. This is just much more of a tool for you guys to have at this point. So then once you get all that done, you can go to build lineups. And it says built 80 of 80 lineups. So once you have all that filled out, you can then come down. You can start to see this ran Ty Dillon in 73% of my lineups. Bad call. It says Ryan Blaney in a full 60%, Joe Logano 59%, and so on and so on. It then gives you all of these lineups. And you're like, well, what good does that do? Well, then you come over here, export to Draftkings, and it gives you all of these lineups with the correct DraftKings ID number in it. You take that, copy and paste it to DraftKings, and you upload, and you're done. That's it. So, all right, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, join our Discord, use the heck out of the DK calculator and optimizer and rankings and all that. You can also check out the rest of the site. It's got a lot of really cool stuff. If you happen to win and hit, definitely post in here. Let me know about it. Would love to know if any of the stuff that we talked about or I helped you with ended up helping. You can look at all the different stats on, which driver. Let's see. Christopher Bell, performance rating, average finish. Which one's his best average finish? Most wins. 2 wins at Phoenix, 2 wins at New Hampshire. You can break them all down in different ways. You can look at head-to-head between drivers. So that's all this part of the site. You continue to go through the site. You can look at all the shows. This has a breakdown of the teardown, door bumper clear, inside the race, the Gluckcast, all the podcasts from this last week, my race preview. So this show that I'm doing here will end up living here. Then the blog is all of the information from the week ends up coming into here. So next year, when we go for Richmond, I'll come here, I'll pull the Richmond, and this will have a full breakdown analysis. It's not scrolling, but either way, I'll have to figure out why that's not scrolling or working. Every once in a while, we get hang-ups. Read the full analysis. All right, you can listen to it.
4 for the haters. Cookout 400 weekly recap. 4.
But I'll let you do that if you want. So either way, that's the website. Good luck, and make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And we will see everyone. Let's see, next Saturday. I think actually we're going to do next Saturday morning, because I think next week is Daytona. And if I remember correctly, it's Saturday night race. 26 schedule. Coca-Cola Zero, Saturday, August 29th at 7:30 p.m. So next Saturday at probably 10 a.m. I plan on being live. That will give us 2 hours to do all of that and get you, 7 hours or so to get your lineups locked in for Daytona. And then we're pretty much on Saturday schedule. Well, Bass Pro will do Saturday morning there. The rest of them would be Saturday nights, except for Martinsville. I go to Martinsville and I do a dual Friday and Sunday morning because I'm out of town for it. Thanks, Rutman, and make sure you hit the like and subscribe. We'll see everyone next week. Good luck. If you end up hitting anything, let me know, and we'd love to promote what you end up hitting and how'd you do it. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend and enjoy the race tomorrow. Bye.
Gentlemen, start your engines. 40 cars coming to life.
He still takes the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here.
Only about one thing tonight, getting the W, so gotta be around the end to do that.
Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Let's go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checkered time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the fastest car here, bud.
Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job.
Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend.
What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.